Welcome one and welcome all. Farmers of Thought would like to welcome all the SADC heads of state and delegates to Zimbabwe for the 44th SADC Summit. This organization was formed to consolidate power on the south as ECOWAS in the east and COMESA in the north. The Africans eagerly await to see a positive drive towards a meaningful engagement of heads of state to realize this vision of a united Africa, as stipulated in the Africa Union by our founding fathers in 1980 in Addis Ababa. The Southern African Development Community, SADC, is a regional economic community comprising of 16 member states, namely that is Angola, Botswana, Comoros, Democratic Republic of Congo, Eswatini, Lesotho, Madagascar, Malawi, Mauritius, Mozambique, Namibia, Seychelles, South Africa, United Republic of Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. More than taking of pictures and recitation of national anthems under the leadership of Comrade Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, the youth of the Southern Africa have high tangible expectation on this landmark conference. It comes at a critical time when the youth are tired of promises, but constantly suffer with a bag full of false promises. A united commercial zone, which is restricted by border controls and multiple currencies within SADC, tribal pontification of Berlin walls and conference, and lack of SADC development strategy, giving this organization a meaningful impact towards economic liberation. Dear SADC heads of state, amongst a dozen of your personal and national interests, here are critical issues to consider during your summit in line with the theme promoting innovation to unlock opportunities for sustainable economic growth and development towards industrialized SADC. Quite a mouthful in terms of a theme, because inside there you are looking at promoting innovation, number one, unlocking opportunities, number two, you may need to identify those opportunities and see how you unlock them, then creating a sustainable growth. Sustainable. It must be ecologically friendly and it must be well sustainable. And this is also moving towards the industrialized SADC. How do you create industries, and in which department are those industries going to come out? So here are some few issues that we want to highlight on behalf of the youth and the nation of SADC. Number one, governance. What is SADC going to do with the fake borders of the Berlin conference? You need to discuss that as leaders. What are you going to do? Because every one of you feel like you are a president and you are a leader in your respective countries. But we are no longer respecting these Berlin conferences in terms of the borders that they erected for us. So during this conference, I would like to hear you as heads of state. What are you going to do to discuss this issue of the fake borders that were put by the Berlin conference? What are the government or governance models which you as leaders will agree upon to respect indigenous governance structures and land ownership by the native people and the royal houses? How are you going to respond to the democratic governments which enforce colonial narratives and parliaments which constantly abuse all Africans? What is SADC going to do with the borders to free movement of people for family, for tourism, for business within the region? It is also key to consider other forms of governance away from democracy and think through the hybrid governance constitutions which offer reliable, meritocratic continuity and succession plans, away from the short-term power leases which are highly manipulated by the colonial West and these systems have constantly given us puppet governments. What is SADC conference, the 44th Council, going to do in terms of readdressing the models of governance? Number two, what is SADC Conference 44 going to do in terms of agriculture? What are we going to do in terms of our agriculture to create a food basket for the Southern African Hemisphere? What are we going to do with the influx of genetically modified foods versus organic foods for the health and welfare of the Africans? How are you going to build food security for SADC? And who will supply your seeds and process that food? Our health is our wealth. Without good health, SADC will be a mortuary service organization. Will SADC plant what she eats? And will SADC eat what she plants? What is SADC's strategy on the land issue to address the colonial laws of land ownership, land utilization? And what is SADC going to do with huge chunks of amounts of land which are being owned by the Anglo-Americans and other multinational companies who constantly exploit the African people? Number three, what is SADC going to do with the education system? What is the academic agenda of SADC in consolidating a curriculum which within the region will produce a competitive workforce which can be innovative to think and produce world-class professionals? Are we going to see a SADC university which will champion meaningful academic and industrial revolution in the region? What is SADC going to do about the colonial historical education which is being drummed into the minds of the youth called education, when we know it's a colonial education and constantly oppress the African? Will SADC have an academic board to consolidate the curriculum, the academic qualifications for local and the global market? Number four, what will SADC do in terms of business and economics? Under the leadership of Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, we expect SADC to develop its own bank so that this bank, a SADC bank, can lend, can borrow, and lead major projects and infrastructure development, power supply, water and food, sustainable food security, mining, health, technology, and many other sectors where the young people can be innovative and create jobs for themselves. We need a satellite in the SADC region to make internet readily available within the region and to improve the learning experience and the business environment of the region. SADC needs to own its own bank. SADC must own its own insurance company and underwrite domestic disasters and manage our own risk. We expect SADC to consolidate her gold within the SADC region. The 16 countries mentioned here must consolidate their gold reserve and come up with a SADC currency for trade and business. SADC needs a common stock exchange to trade on the global market at the true value of our resources. Number five, SADC needs to think seriously about our sports and our entertainment industry. How is SADC going to develop its common zone for sports and entertainment? There is FIFA, there is Olympics, there is Mrs. Universe, there is Mrs. World, and of late there was Miss South Africa. And issues of colonialism and margins and borders still bother us. And these systems constantly bottleneck African talent in preference of their own. We expect under the leadership of E.D. Mnangagwa a serious focus on SADC games, festivals, which we will celebrate our own African excellence within the region. We also look forward to the unblocking of indigenous sports and prioritizing of our own SADC TVs and utilizing our music and culture to be the diet for our children, replacing the nude and violent culture of the Western colonization and their entertainment. We need a SADC radio station. We need a SADC TV station. We need a SADC satellite. We need a SADC sporting body and a SADC entertainment calendar. Number 6, we expect the meeting to bring the solutions to health and technology. It should harvest African indigenous knowledge systems and fully integrate them into the mainstream. Universities and other vibrant institutions must deliberately make legislative frameworks user-friendly for innovation, for entrepreneurship, for financial institutions within SADC must fund these young minds who are bringing fresh intellectual property and solutions to fix African problems. SADC, number 7, must have a right attitude towards our ancient sacred sites to propel an authentic African spirituality. It is our spirituality, and within it, that we can, as a nation, be able to develop an ethic of the South and develop a moral, viable community. Our relation to our spiritual land, our environment, will leave a legacy for the next generation. These 7 questions, these 7 points and principles will guide this summit. And in your deliberations and interactions, we as a nation await concrete resolutions with attainable timeframes. We are confident that the leadership of Idi Mnangagwa will usher SADC into a new era of meaningful engagements and practical solutions for the nations. As we are moving over past this 44th conference, we anticipate that the leaders of SADC will be able to start taking the African young politicians very seriously. You were saying the young people are not involved and are not getting serious in politics. But when the young people come to the table to engage in politics, they're bringing with them a different dynamic altogether. I don't need to over-exaggerate the illustration we've seen in Kenya and the impact that the young people can have. And if any leader amongst you does not take the young people seriously, you are bound to get surprised, because the politics is now changing. The young people have a gun in their hands, and that is a cell phone and data. And surely they can communicate much faster. So I suggest that the leadership needs to start incorporating young people into leadership roles. Train them for the sustainable growth and handover processes. And I want, with those few words from Farmers of Thought, to welcome you all. And I'm broadcasting live from Botswana at the headquarters of the SADC offices and secretariat. And we hope that as you make your way into Zimbabwe to go and deliberate, you will consider the issues of governance. You will consider the issues of agriculture. You will consider the issues of education, business and economics, sports and entertainment, health and technology, and finally spirituality. And within that, incorporate an innovative industrial mindset. And we can be able to guide us as our leaders towards that greater dream and vision of a united Africa. With those few words, I say welcome to Zimbabwe for the 44th conference here on the SADC Summit. Yours truly, Maponga J, Farmers of Thought, Chigaramboko, Chirera Navana Vevanji, Makume Mwana Mwesende Weshano Zugweziteza, Zinokwigwa Nwana Mango, Arpedo Ntamba Nazo, Mtamba Uriparuare. We look forward to a very meaningful conversation that will change the trajectory of Africa. I thank you.